Before we dive in, I want you to do two things. Subscribe to the channel and leave a comment on which of these strategies you'd be most likely to try on your own farm or garden. This guide isn't just a stroll through history. It's a practical manual drawn from wartime ingenuity, showing how farmers kept crops alive under extreme pressure without synthetic chemicals. By the end, you'll not only understand the techniques, but also how to apply them today for sustainable, chemical-free pest control. During World War II, farmers faced unprecedented challenges. Labor shortages, rationing, and the urgent need to feed millions meant that traditional pest control methods like chemical pesticides were often unavailable or prohibitively expensive. Yet somehow, farms continued producing at a remarkable rate. This wasn't magic. It was science, observation, and resourcefulness distilled into practical techniques. These 7 methods, once top secret among wartime agricultural circles, can still be applied today for anyone interested in self-sufficient farming, historical farming practices, or survivalist gardening. Farmers relied on crop rotation to starve pests before they could take hold. One of the most essential wartime strategies was crop rotation, the practice of alternating the types of crops grown on a plot each season. Farmers quickly realized that pests were highly specialized. Aphids, beetles, and rootworms thrived when the same plant was grown year after year. By rotating crops, infestations were naturally disrupted. For example, planting legumes after a cereal crop not only restored soil nutrients, but also prevented pests that depended on grains from multiplying. Modern survivalists can implement this by planning their garden layout months in advance, ensuring that no single crop dominates a plot. Intercropping confused pests and created natural barriers. During the war, farmers also discovered that planting multiple crops together could drastically reduce pest damage. Intercropping, or growing complementary plants side by side, works because pests often locate their targets using scent or visual cues. A row of onions next to carrots or radishes next to lettuce confuses insects, making it harder for them to find their preferred hosts. Wartime records from England and Germany show that fields using intercropping experienced fewer infestations, reducing the need for chemical intervention. Encouraging natural predators kept pest populations in check. Perhaps the most powerful tool in a World War II farmer's arsenal was simply working with nature rather than against it. Birds, frogs, ladybugs, and predatory insects were all allies. Farmers learned to create habitats that attracted these predators. Installing hedgerows, leaving small water features, or allowing parts of fields to grow wild provided shelter for beneficial species. This approach isn't limited to large-scale farming. Urban gardeners can introduce bat boxes, birdhouses, or even compost heaps that draw predators to their plots. Homemade botanical sprays were crafted from what was on hand. When chemical pesticides were scarce, wartime farmers turned to plant-based solutions. Pyrethrum, extracted from chrysanthemum flowers, was one of the most common and effective insecticides. Other plants like tobacco, garlic, and neem were crushed or, boiled to produce sprays that deterred insects without harming crops. Practical application today involves creating simple tinctures or infusions from local plants. For example, a garlic chili spray can be made by simmering crushed garlic and chili peppers in water, straining, and applying it to leaves. Sanitation and crop hygiene prevented infestations before they started. Wartime farmers understood that prevention was more effective than cure. Removing debris, fallen fruit, and infected plants reduced breeding grounds for pests and diseases. Fields were often meticulously cleaned at the end of each season, with crop residues either composted away from planting areas or burned. This practice, drastically lowered infestations the following year. Survivalists today can replicate this by keeping garden beds clean, rotating mulch, and promptly removing diseased or infested plants. Trap crops lured pests away from main harvests. A particularly clever strategy from the Second World War was the use of trap crops, plants specifically grown to attract pests away from valuable crops. For example, mustard might be planted at the edges of a cabbage field to lure aphids, allowing the main crop to thrive relatively undisturbed. Trap crops acted as sacrificial bait, concentrating pests in manageable areas where they could be destroyed or controlled manually. Timing planting to outsmart pests gave farmers a strategic advantage. Finally, timing was everything. By altering planting and harvesting schedules, farmers could avoid peak pest periods. Early or late, sowing meant crops reached maturity when pest populations were low, reducing damage naturally. Historical records show that fields planted slightly earlier than usual often experienced fewer infestations of certain beetles and moths. These 7 wartime pest control strategies demonstrate that thriving crops don't require modern chemicals. What they require is observation, adaptability, and ecological intelligence. They offer both a historical lens into World War II agriculture and practical, modern applications for anyone looking to garden sustainably or survive off-grid. By studying these methods, you're not only preserving knowledge that kept nations fed under extreme conditions, but also equipping yourself with tools that reduce dependence on synthetic pesticides. If you found this guide valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment sharing which method you plan to try first, and share this video with fellow history enthusiasts and survivalists. The legacy of wartime farmers is more than historical trivia. It's a blueprint for sustainable, resilient agriculture that you can put into practice today.